freelance writing or doing anything freelance involves having no safety net, not having a secure income, meaning that you have to make your own living the best way you can, not working for any one person or any one company. And that's really hard to do. It's a big decision to be a freelancer. And not everyone has the emotional stability, I would say, or the emotional constitution to be a freelancer, because there's no guaranteed money to pay the bills. When I stopped teaching in elementary school and made the decision to be a freelance writer, I knew the kind of life I had ahead of me because my mother was a freelancer, and I knew. So we were very poor, and sometimes we were so poor that we'd decide which meal would we have. And we didn't starve, but we didn't have new clothes, or all the other kids, everyone else seemed to me had more things than we did. But we had a good time. And my friends always wanted to come and visit my mother in my house, not me go to them, because we had a good time. But it was hard, and I could see how hard it was and how hard on my mother it was to support us. And so we pitched in. So I got a job when I was pretty young, and I worked from the time I was about 10. I made suppers and cleaned the house and helped my mother and sister. And when we lived with my aunt, my cousin and I cleaned the stable for 7 horses. And so we learned how to work and know what it was like to have an insecure income. So I knew that, and I decided to do that because I wanted more time to write and not to be always working for someone else. As much as I loved teaching, I realized I wanted more time to write. So the freelance life, one has to cook up projects or always be on the lookout for someone who needs a writer, or whatever the profession is. If you're or an artist or musician or any of the arts, oh, there's a job, maybe I could get that, I could write that music or write that play. So always having to be on the lookout for work is one part of being a freelancer. And then having to work to the deadlines. If something is due, you have to finish it, because otherwise you don't get paid. I freelanced for CBC television and radio for 5 years, and that taught me how to meet a deadline. I would have to go out with a videographer and we go film an interview, go back to the studio, and I knew at 6 o'clock it had to go to air. Or for a radio piece, I'd do the interview with a microphone, go back and edit the piece, and it would go to air at 4 or 4:20. So I learned how to be at a computer or a typewriter in a room full of people and meet a deadline. And I think that's the main thing that a freelancer needs to know. You have to learn how to meet the deadline, do the work, and then you get paid. How does this affect what I do? And so now I'm not doing quite so many contracts. Sometimes I would have 12 contracts all lined up, different deadlines. Now I teach more and teach at the university, and it affects me because teaching is very, very demanding and interesting, and the students are amazing, just amazing and interesting. But it means I have to be present for them and prepare and then also critique their writing and their assignments, and that takes so much time and reminds me of why I stopped teaching in the first place, which was, it's time consuming to be a teacher. It's unseen work. So that affects my writing now, and now I'm taking more. This past year and this coming year, I've decided not to teach so much, so that I can write more, because working with other people's writing and thinking about 60 other people, and wonderful people, means that I don't have very much time be in my own musing, the world of thinking about things in a very desultory way. When you write, it's not scheduled. You know, doing the dishes or having a long walk, and slowly a story or dialogue comes around. And if someone has, if a deadline has to be met, that seems to take precedence over that kind of not unshaped time that one needs as a writer or an artist.